They called it the Elephant. Huge, loud, and nearly unstoppable. The 426 Hemi wasn't just an engine, it was a declaration of war. Born on the oval tracks of NASCAR and unleashed on the streets, it crushed everything in its path, from Mustangs to Mopars. This wasn't about refinement, it was about raw, unfiltered dominance. The kind of power that got banned from racing because it was too good. This is the story of the 426 Hemi, the motor that made legends and terrified everyone else. The early 1960s, NASCAR wasn't just a sport, it was a battlefield for American automakers. Ford, Chevrolet, and Chrysler were locked in a horsepower arms race, each trying to outgun the other. But by 1963, Chrysler was falling behind. Ford had its 427 engine dominating the ovals, and GM's small blocks were fast becoming legends. Chrysler needed a game changer, something the competition couldn't touch. Enter a small team of engineers at Chrysler's Highland Park Engineering Center. Their goal was clear: build an engine so powerful it would make every other car on the grid look obsolete. And in 1964, they did it. A massive 426 cubic inch V8 with hemispherical combustion chambers, a design that allowed for efficient airflow, massive valves, and incredible power. The first time this beast hit the track, it was chaos. The Hemi-powered Plymouths and Dodges stormed NASCAR, winning the 1964 Daytona 500 and leaving Ford and Chevy in the dust. In just one race, the Hemi rewrote history. It was the birth of a monster. The dominance was so complete, it scared NASCAR itself. Chrysler's 426 Hemi wasn't just winning, it was humiliating everyone else. Daytona 1964. The roar of Richard Petty's bright blue number, 43 Plymouth, shook the grandstands. When the green flag dropped, the car exploded off the line like a cannon shot. Lap after lap, it wasn't even close. Petty led 190 of 200 laps and crossed the finish line a full lap ahead of his nearest rival. The fans went wild. They'd never seen anything like it. The Hemi was a monster. Raw, loud, and completely unfair. Ford executives watched from their pits in disbelief. Their 427 engines were supposed to be the pinnacle of power, but this new Hemi had just made them look like stone tools in a jet age. Behind closed doors, the complaints started pouring in. Ford called the Hemi a race-only freak, an unfair weapon that was nowhere to be found on dealership floors. The press joined in, and NASCAR officials started to sweat. If they didn't act, the sport risked becoming a one-brand show. So, in 1965, NASCAR dropped the hammer. A new rule was written. If you wanted to race it, you had to sell it to the public. No exceptions. The Hemi was banned. For Chrysler, it was a gut punch, but also a call to arms. The engineers who'd built the Hemi weren't about to let their creation die in a rule book. They looked at each other and said, "Fine. If they want it on the street, we'll give them the same damn engine." They rolled up their sleeves, tightened their wrenches, and turned a race-tuned beast into a street-legal weapon. If NASCAR wouldn't let the Hemi run on the track, then the track would come to the streets, and the world had no idea what was coming. 1966, the Street HEMI was born. Same displacement, same hemispherical heads, but tuned just enough for civilian use. 425 horsepower straight from the factory, but that was only the official number. In reality, dyno showed closer to 470 or even 500 horsepower depending on setup. Cars like the Dodge Charger, Plymouth GTX, and the legendary Cuda became Hemi-powered icons. It wasn't cheap. The Hemi option alone cost nearly a quarter of the car's total price. But for those who could afford it, you weren't just buying a car. You were buying bragging rights, a ticket into history. It was loud, violent, and barely street legal. You could idle into a gas station and the ground would shake beneath you. Every rev felt like a thunderclap, mechanical chaos, perfectly tuned for one thing: dominance. What made the 426 Hemi so untouchable wasn't just its size, it was its intelligence. At a time when most engines were simple wedge-shaped designs, the Hemi's hemispherical combustion chamber was pure genius. That curved dome let air and fuel swirl perfectly before ignition, creating a near-perfect burn. More air meant more fuel, and more fuel meant more explosive power. Each cylinder was a small explosion waiting to happen, with massive valves placed opposite each other for maximum flow. Spark plugs sat dead center to ignite that perfect mix from the inside out. The result? Unmatched efficiency and raw brute force that other V8s could only dream about. And Chrysler didn't cheap out. The engine block was cross-bolted for strength. Forged cranks, beefy rods, hefty valve train components, every piece was built like it was meant for war. Even at high RPMs, the thing refused to break.